Hello and welcome back to another Science or Not. I made another video on intermittent fasting and my take on this, but relying on intermittent fasting is, in my opinion, the wrong strategy. But this video today will reveal some new information that we didn't know before, and so please stay tuned. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe to the channel. It won't hurt you and you will learn something. So, should we skip breakfast?
From the Doctor's Pharmacy and another edition of Health Bites. I'm Dr. Mark Hyman. You
Mark Hyman. I already like the fact that he has the same name. Good times.
probably heard the old adage that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but what does that really mean? Is there truth to it, or is it more about the specific nutrition you need to kickstart your day? Well, maybe you've heard about time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting where you skip breakfast altogether. Is that better than eating breakfast?
I'm actually pretty sure it is not, but let's see what he has to say.
In this episode, I'm going to answer your burning questions about breakfast. Should you eat it or should you skip it? What's the ideal time to break your overnight fast? And most importantly, when do you break your fast? And most importantly, when you do break your fast, how can you fuel your body to ensure the best possible start to your day?
Yes, most importantly, if you start eating, what should you eat?
I'm going to cut right to the chase. Yes, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Breakfast is the first chance you get to fuel your body, to energize your brain, and to get your protein in for the day. Yep, protein.
Yes, I already love this video. This is great. Finally, someone who speaks the same language. Probably either healthier to skip a dinner than to skip a breakfast. And you should eat out of all 4 food groups in your breakfast as well. Most people do not fulfill their protein needs per day, and we're going to go into this a little bit later. But I'm so glad that I found this. I didn't know Dr. Hyman at all before I found this video. At the moment, he's spot on, and let's go and see what he says.
Not what we typically eat for breakfast in America, which is sugar or dessert for breakfast. But contrary to what you may have been told.
Yes, correct. Typically, a typical American breakfast is either a lot of fat, not a lot of protein, and a lot of carbohydrates, or it's very sugary, like if you think about maple syrup and pancakes or cereals. And that's typically too much out of one food group. I'm not saying fat or sugar should not be part of your breakfast, but it shouldn't be the majority part or the biggest part of your breakfast. You should have a well-balanced breakfast meal that fuels your body and gives you energy, and also reduces your cravings over the time of the day, so that you don't crave any sugar or any fat later in the day. Very nice. Spot on so far.
Told about breakfast. It doesn't have to happen right when you first wake up. You can wait a bit to prolong your overnight fast, which should be about 12 to 14 hours, and hence the term break fast or breakfast.
Yes, and that's also true. The name breakfast comes from breaking the fast, which is your overnight fast. And depending on your body and how you feel, everyone has a little bit different overnight fast. I typically have dinner somewhere around 8 o'clock, between 7 and 8 o'clock, and then I don't eat anything until the other day between 9 and 10 a.m. in the morning. So that's a 13-hour fast, which is right in that range. My soon-to-be wife, at 8, we eat dinner, but then she eats very early in the morning, her breakfast, so her fast is rather more like 11 hours or 12 hours. Well, let's continue with this.
In fact, I don't eat breakfast until usually 2 or 3 hours after I wake up, after I do my morning meditation and get my workout in for the day.
Oh, there you go. He does the same thing. You see, like I wake up usually around 7 and I don't meditate in the morning. I usually write or record a video, and then, but after that, I usually have breakfast, which puts me then around 8, 9, 10 a.m., depending on when I wake up.
So if my last meal the previous day was 7 o'clock, I wouldn't break my fast until the next mid-morning around 9 or 10 the next day. So it's less about when you break the fast and more about what you eat for breakfast. But
Yes, finally. I wait for this. Thank you, Dr. Hyman. This is awesome. Just continue like this. This is great.
you can eat breakfast too late, right? And then it's called lunch. But you do want...
Yeah, so this is what I say for the entire time on this channel. That's what we promote on this channel. It is more important what you eat and less important when you eat it. Okay, so you can have breakfast at 7, at 8, at 9, at 10, at 11. Depending on how long your natural fast is, it is important what you eat for breakfast.
But it depends on you. And we've done podcasts on intermittent fasting, so we'll link to those in the show notes. The research shows that skipping breakfast is a bad idea.
So Now, I haven't seen any of his podcasts, but I personally think, with some exceptions, that intermittent fasting long-term is extremely counterproductive for many, many reasons that I explained in the other video that I made. But we're going to find out some new reasons that can be counterproductive for your health or detrimental to your health. The point he's making here is that everyone is a little different, and you should find out what works for you. And what works for one person, even in the same household, doesn't necessarily work for everyone else.
Idea. Skipping breakfast, according to the research, is associated with an increased risk of lots of things like type 2 diabetes, obesity, and weight gain. In fact, in a systematic review and a meta-analysis of 45 observational studies, researchers reported a 31% higher risk of excess belly fat by not eating breakfast, a 48% greater risk of being overweight, and a 44% greater risk of becoming obese.
I love this dude already. So there's actually a larger body of knowledge on this. He's absolutely right. He's like so right. Especially from the past decade or so, the body of knowledge has quite increased on that intermittent fasting, and to a larger extent, skipping your first meal of the day has a lot of health implications. So we found the study that he was talking about, and actually, to be completely honest with you guys, this is the first time since I'm doing science or not that the study actually also exists in the real world, and you should all follow him. This is the study he was talking about. Abdominal obesity did increase in those groups that skipped breakfast.
Another study found a causal link between skipping breakfast and increased risk for ADHD, which is a big problem. Also an increased risk for major depressive disorder and reduced cognitive performance.
Yes. So, okay, he's citing the body of knowledge. So you remember how we always talk about the body of knowledge on this channel? This is what that is. I hope you understand the difference between what he's doing there and what a Dr. O's or Dr. Lee is doing. So Dr. Hyman is citing an entire body of knowledge. There are plenty of studies that have made the case that long-term skipping breakfast is detrimental not just to your health, so it has an increased risk of obesity, diabetes, but also to your cognitive functions, productivity or ADHD. There's a pretty big body of knowledge on that particular topic. Compared to what the Dr. O's or Dr. Gundry do, that cherry picks certain studies that sometimes don't even exist or that are even misrepresented. What Dr. Hyman is doing is exact opposite of that. The larger body of knowledge supports what he's saying. So, for example, this study here, which is a summary or like a review of many, many studies done, which shows the positive effect of a morning meal, which means a breakfast, on memory recall, children performance, work performance, mood, and cognitive function. We have another study here which really shows the negative impact of skipping breakfast on cardiovascular diseases or heart diseases or stroke. That if you never eat breakfast, there is a high positive correlation between stroke, heart diseases, and other cardiovascular diseases, and the fact that you don't eat breakfast. It is very clear in the scientific community that a long-term skip of breakfast, which is something that Dr. Lee is constantly talking about, is not healthy.
Now, why would that happen? Well, what you eat for breakfast sets the tone for the rest of the day. It's really an opportunity to get in the essential nutrients you need to help you better reach your daily protein goals, which most people probably...
Yes. So we always talk about fruit and vegetables that should be part of your diet. You should eat 5 whole foods, fruit and vegetables every day. But your protein goals are really important as well. So a typical protein goal would be between 0.7 and 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Like if you eat 100 grams of chicken breast, that's about, 30-ish grams of protein. So what you want to have in your breakfast is fiber, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, and protein. And protein is probably the most underestimated thing, especially in breakfast, because especially if you eat like sugary breakfast, like oats or cereals, it's usually very low in protein. That is a very good point as he's making.
To balance your hormones, your blood sugar, your mood,
yes,
your energy, your focus,
yes,
cognition, all of that depends on your breakfast.
Yes, protein also needs a little bit longer to be digested, so that also helps you with feeling fuller longer. Like a balanced meal, like with a lot of fiber and a lot of protein, will help you to regulate your hormone levels. Your insulin will not spike. That is the reason you will not get diabetes if you do this long term. So there's a lot of reasons why you do want to have a protein rich and fiber rich. I want to add fiber to this a protein-rich and fiber-rich breakfast in the morning.
Now, have you ever heard the saying, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper? Well, research shows that there's actually truth behind this, and that it's better to skip dinner than breakfast.
If you want to prolong your fast, or if you're on an intermittent fasting cycle, or whatever the hell you want to do in your life, try to start your fasting cycle in the evening and not in the morning. Have your breakfast.
An interesting study showed that men who initially consumed low-calorie breakfast and a high-calorie dinner experienced a significant boost in diet-induced thermogenesis when they switched to eating the same high-calorie dinner for breakfast.
I made another video on that. You look at my Dr. O's video, I explain diet-induced thermogenesis in that video quite a bit. We propose on this channel to eat 3 to 5 times a day. I want to make that clear. I don't propose to skip dinner and then have a well-balanced nutrition, add fiber and protein to almost every meal you eat. And you can have a cheat meal every once in a while. Don't make it a whole cheat day, because it would be 3 to 5 meals. I also want to give you like a list of things that can happen if you always skip breakfast. Increased risk of obesity and increased risk for diabetes. And then also, because you're not working your gut system, an increased risk for abdominal diseases. And that may include also cancer.
Now, low-calorie breakfast also increase cravings for carbs and sugar throughout the day, which is not what you want to be doing. And it means that diet-induced thermogenesis is higher in the morning than the evening. Why? Well, it has to do with our circadian rhythms, which primes our body to be more efficient at digesting, absorbing, and metabolizing food early in the day, because we haven't eaten all night, so we're just ready to go. We need to get food to fuel the tank for the day. It's like putting gas at the beginning of a car trip rather than at the end of the trip, right? Your insulin sensitivity is higher. Your melatonin also reduces insulin release. You don't get these spikes of insulin, which cause belly fat.
Yes.
And it could be really a good strategy for weight loss when you eat the majority of your calories earlier in the day.
Yes. Yes. It is the best strategy for weight loss to eat most of the calories early in your day. That's actually how I lost weight. My breakfasts are massive. Let me give you a number. 20 to 35% of your dietary needs should be in the breakfast. Which means, if we look at just at pure calories, if you're a 2,000 calorie per day maintenance person, which a lot of people like, somewhere around that number, your breakfast should be somewhere between 400 and 700 calories. So if you eat the foods that we recommend you should eat, you're gonna have a massively big breakfast for 700 calories. We're changing it from like me eating very high calorie massive dinners and skipping breakfast, which is what I was doing for like the longest time of my life, going to a wholehearted breakfast with a lot of calories. That was the key ingredients for me to lose weight, because I didn't feel hungry and I could control the portions over the day a lot better.
Should you eat for breakfast to get the best start to the day? Protein, 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 protein. Let me say it again. Protein. And you can add fat in there too. But protein and fat are basically the foods you should be eating for breakfast.
Yeah, so a little bit, I mean, I don't disagree here. I'm just saying that protein is super important. So you should think protein. But you should also eat fiber, some carbohydrates, and you should also have some antioxidants and vitamins and like other micronutrients in your breakfast. So it shouldn't be just pure protein. It's not like you should eat like 20 scoops of protein powder or something, okay? So that wouldn't be healthy at all.
Well, high protein breakfast leads to making you feel full. It controls your appetite. It makes overeating less likely at your next meal. It helps balance your blood sugar. It keeps your insulin levels low. It cuts your cravings, and it reduces snacking. And there is something magical called the thermogenic effect of protein, which means you actually burn more calories when you consume protein. So about 30% of the calories get used in action.
So 30% of the calories that's quite a lot. Diet-induced thermogenesis is often induced by high-fat, high-protein diet. That is very true. 30% of the calories is that seems to be pretty high to me. It's probably a lot lower than that. Again, to me, the main point is that you're fueling your body and you're balancing out your blood sugar levels and all that. That's really important. More important to me, you're feeding your gut microbiome. Those are the more important parts than the thermogenic effect that will take place with a high protein, high fat diet, but probably not as high as he's estimating here with 30%. I want to give you a list of great breakfast items. Oats, beans, leafy greens, root vegetables, yogurt, milk, any type of fruit, especially berry fruit like blueberries, strawberries, egg whites, eggs. Even whey protein powder, especially if it's pure whey, can be mixed into something. Leaner meats, nuts, vegetables, homemade bread or slow processed bread, rice, honey. Those are great breakfast items. And things that you probably should avoid in the morning, especially red meats, not too much bacon. You can eat some fatty bacon, but I would rather eat avocado or fish if you want to add your fats, or nuts. You can eat like some salmon, for example, if you like salmon. Any type of gravy is not the best. Any kind of sweets or sugary drinks, fatty sauces, most of the cereals are probably not a good idea. Any pizza or any fries or chocolate bars or any ultra processed foods or factory breads, stuff like that, you should probably avoid. Nutrition isn't that complicated as a lot of people try to make it. And I want to give you some really simple rules. Eat more fruit and vegetables. Eat out of all the food groups. Try to eat whole foods for mostly. And very important, especially later in the day, control your portions so that you stay in your calorie limit. Good guidelines are 5 or more fruit and vegetables per day. 3 to 5 meals per day. 0.6 to 0.8 grams of protein per pound of your body weight. And then about 20 to 35% of your dietary needs in your breakfast. And most importantly, you need to subscribe to my channel, not later. You should do it now. You will learn something and it doesn't hurt you. And thanks for watching. I see you around. I'm out.